Bears Roundtable is powered by Xfinity.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Bears Roundtable here from PNC Studio at Hallis Hall. I'm Jeff Joniak with my broadcast partner on WBBM Radio, Tom Thayer, the senior writer for ChicagoBears.com, Larry Mayer, and our special guest today as we get ready for the 2015 preseason. Off-season now is done. We're into the preseason. The general manager of the Chicago Bears, Ryan Pace. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's good
Your
to be
maiden
here.
voyage with us, and it's going to be quite an experience.
I can't
the
wait.
first thing I want to bring up, and this is for all of us because this is my 18th year where I'm just devoted to football in the National Football League. He's devoted his whole life. So is Larry, for the most part, and so have you. So that internal clock starts ticking, starting a little later than normal. You get the whole month of July almost in terms of summer, but has that internal clock been ticking for you
funny.
as a player and as an administrator?
It's funny, you feel it. I was just talking to our special teams coordinator, Jeff Rogers. You start waking up a little bit earlier this time of year. That internal clock is hitting, so you can feel it coming. You can feel the build up. Today's kind of like the first day of school. All the coaches are back. A lot of activity upstairs, but everybody's anxious to get started.
And he gets angrier, you know.
Yeah.
He starts to get a little salty.
So
you?
does he. I
was
guarantee
gonna say.
there's a little bit of edginess at the start of training camp. And, you know, my first question, you've been in office over 150 days, but now training camp started. How has the first 150-plus days been for you?
First of all, it hasn't felt that long. It feels like it's only been about 2 weeks, but it's really been, when I think about the first 150 days, it's really been an acquisition mode for us. I mean, it started with our coaching staff, which came together really well. Then some of our key personnel hires, obviously the players, which is still ongoing. But I think we've hired over 30 people. We just hired, hopefully, the final employee just last week. So that's been kind of an acquisition phase, and now it's kind of implementing, just like we do with our players, throughout the building, implementing our philosophies and our structure going forward.
That being said, are you getting good at interviewing people?
Yeah,
You know, from that perspective,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, a lot, yeah. So that process has been good. So I'm really excited about the staff, the coaching staff. Everything kind of came together. I really feel like it's an all-star group, and now we get to see it full-fledged in training camp.
Now, when you go to training camp as a general manager, tell me a little bit about the evaluation versus keeping your eye on the rest of the league. You're obviously at all the practices, you watch tape, but how do you kind of balance that?
Exactly. You're kind of doing both. With practice, I like to, obviously, you're watching practice live. I focus on a different position per practice. Then I'll watch it individual by myself in my office, and then we'll watch it as a staff with our scouts. And I think that kind of helps us get our, hey, this is what we're looking for, this is what we like. So we're all kind of speaking the same language. But as you said, it's not just our practices, it's focusing on other teams around the league. So, you know, once we start playing preseason games, we'll be watching that closely. And that's what's exciting, because this is kind of a good time for us to continue to get better as a roster. So whether it's at any point in the preseason, we've got to be ready to claim a guy. Hopefully we're never this high in the claiming order again. So we need to be aggressive and proactive during that time period.
Does each practice kind of put a new idea in your head? Or what do I want to watch next practice? Or I got to pay attention to this guy. He really, you know, caught my attention today. Is that the way? I think that's the way that we all go through it, is someone captures our attention, or we need to see, see how someone's progressing.
Yeah, I like going into each practice with a plan. Okay, this is what I want to get out of this practice. Maybe there's a player that, hey, we've been talking about, good or bad, that I want to, focus a little more on. But I think you get yourself into trouble if you go out to practice without a plan,
right,
and you try to watch too much and you don't get anything. So I kind of like being focused on a position group or a couple of specific players.
How different is it when you put pads on in terms of practicing every day, especially in the heat?
I think for me, it was that transition of going into full pads. You can go through OTAs with no equipment on, and you can feel like a ballerina out there. But now your helmet is touching your shoulder pads. You don't feel as comfortable. Your spikes may be a little bit too tight. You have thigh pads and everything. It is a little bit different once these guys get pads on.
It's definitely different. And then now, I look at it just from an evaluation standpoint. A nose tackle taking on a double team and be able to set in there and anchor, or all these things that are happening, especially the guys in the trenches, you got to have full pads on to fully evaluate that position. I feel like during the OTAs, okay, of course, you can watch the receivers and the corners and some of the skilled guys, but the guys in the trenches, this is the key time to evaluate when we get the full pads on.
Which is right up his alley. That's the first focus. We do a lot of reports during training camp, he and I, and the focus is almost every single day on the trenches, certainly the offensive line. But with that being said, what he did as a player a long time ago and what is going on now, completely different. So he's conditioned to think, okay, you go through two-a-days, you're doing sprints after practice, and you're in full pads the entire time, and it's not just one practice. Have you adjusted your thinking about the NFL that way because of the off-season programs, which you guys did not have?
Right. It's the OTAs that has captured my attention because we had a big window. We were doing nothing, and you were relied upon about making sure you're ready in the weight room. Now you're monitored a little bit more with the OTA, so I think it's an important part of it. And when you use the evaluation of OTAs, do you get a realistic depth chart going into training camp, or do you have to wait a couple weeks into training camp and then it kind of clears things up?
I honestly think you have to wait a couple weeks, and also even into the preseason. I mean, I think, and Coach Fox and I stress this a lot, the number one component to what we do is toughness and physicality, and you truly can't judge that till we got our pads on and guys are hitting and playing aggressive. So I think sometimes you can get a false sense of your roster during the OTAs, and certain guys might not look as good or look really good. We get the pads on, and like we always say, that's when guys define themselves, is when we're hitting.
And however physical it can be with the rules the way they are nowadays, do you expect a physical camp?
We do, yeah. Yeah, with Coach Fox, we've talked about it a lot. So, yeah, you're limited by the rules, but we expect a physical camp. You can still see a linebacker come downhill and blow up an ISO. You can still see the physicality of the game and guys that thrive in that environment.